Hey, welcome to another edition of View from the Bleachers. I'm Tim Jones, and today, well, I'd like to take a moment to complain about my wife. Oh, make no mistake, I deeply love my wife. She's a great life partner. But, well, can I be frank? She's a lousy sports partner. The problem is she's utterly clueless about sports. Like any patriotic American, I'm a huge fan of baseball, football, Australian rules, lawn bowling, you name it. But my wife is, how can I put this delicately, an artist. Perhaps this requires a bit more clarification, which I'll get right to on the other side. See this lovely couple watching the game on TV? If this were me and my wife, well, I'd be anxiously watching to see if my team will score the winning touchdown. But my wife, well, she'd be thinking, why do they keep fighting each other over a stupid ball? Why can't they just agree to share? These are grown men after all. Yeah, you see, that's because my wife, did I mention I love her very much? She could no more tell you the number of points in a touchdown than the location of home plate in baseball. Interestingly, she drew a portrait of a famous baseball player for the Seattle Mariners, a gorgeous painting of Edgar Martinez, the designated hitter, standing at the plate. She just left out one thing from her painting: home plate. Fortunately, I was able to point it out to her before the official unveiling, so she was able to fix it. This is my wife, Michelle. She's an incredibly talented portrait artist, and she can tell you all about colors and lighting and facial musculature. But what she can't tell you about is why a large man sometimes tries to kick an oddly shaped ball through that funny-looking set of tall poles. It's called a goal post, honey. Goal post, yeah. Oh, sure. My wife will tell you that she likes sports. But to her, sports consists of backpacking through the woods or going sailing. Those aren't sports. As any red-blooded sports fan knows, sports requires two essential elements: a high-def flat-panel 56-inch TV and a large, cheese-stuffed meat lover's pizza. Now, I first suspected my wife wasn't into sports early into our marriage. One evening, I had to work late, so I missed Monday Night Football. Well, I called home, and I asked my wife if she knew the score. Well, after 5 minutes of trying to convince her that pro football indeed could be played on a day other than Sunday, she checked the TV and reported, I have no idea, but I think they're in extra innings. Seriously, I'd have better luck finding out the score in the credits of an episode of This Is Us than by asking my wife for it. You see, if there's one thing that binds us together as a society, it's ESPN. And ESPN2, and ESPN News, and ESPN Classic, and the other 12 ESPN channels that time does not permit me to mention. But to my wife, all sports programming is a complete waste of time because, according to her, what difference does it make who wins? She should be grateful we don't live in Alabama, where such heresy is officially grounds for divorce. I'm almost certain. Now, I have long ago forgiven her for the fact that she can't tell the difference between a football and a hockey puck. And she's Canadian. You see, as embarrassing as this is to admit, my artist wife has, well, as much interest in the subtleties of the read option offense as I have in the subtleties of a Da Vinci painting brushstroke. What's that? My wife wanted me to point out that Da Vinci used some breakthrough technique called sfumato. Thanks for sharing, honey. That added an awful lot to this piece. Thanks. I realize in retrospect, I probably should have inserted an additional clause into my wife's wedding vows. Something like, I promise to become a rabid fan for any sports team over which my husband chooses to obsess. And I vow to do my spousal best to know the box score for any sporting event that involves a ball. And I'll do my utmost to comprehend the meaning of baseball's infield fly rule. Till death do us part. Yeah, that would have been helpful. Over the past 33 years, I've tried on countless occasions to enlist my wife to watch sports on TV with me. But trying to explain to her what constitutes, say, offsides in soccer is like trying to explain to our cats the meaning of, well, offsides in soccer. If I'm lucky enough to get 5 minutes of her attention to a game I'm watching, her focus will have absolutely nothing to do with what's actually happening on the field. Instead, my wife will be fixating on the interplay of light and shadow on the players' uniforms. Who cares that they just won the game on a last-second field goal? What matters to my wife is the juxtaposition of colors in the stands as the ball goes sailing through the uprights. You know, recently I got to thinking, what would sports play-by-play be like if my wife were in the booth calling all the action? I think it would probably go something like this. Let's say football, for example. The two teams look great in their uniforms. I can't decide which team is better, the green and white uniform guys or the guys in the orange and teal. Well, the orange and teal remind me of one of Monet's paintings of water lilies, so I think I'm going to have to give the edge to that team. Or, say, soccer. What an exciting game. I have no idea what the score is, of course, but the guys in green do seem to be kicking the ball around an awful lot and not sharing it with the red team at all. That's not very neighborly. The crowd seems to be shouting about something. I wonder what their fuss is all about. Maybe they saw a rainbow, you know? I love the vibrant colors of a rainbow in the late afternoon sun. Or how would she do play-by-play with boxing? I'm not sure how far into the game we are. I'm going to take a wild guess and say the 5th inning. The tall fellow just keeps hitting the shorter fellow in the head and on the chest, and I'm not really sure what his issue is. Perhaps the shorter fellow said something crude about his wife. You know, if this goes on much longer, I'm afraid the shorter fellow might fall down. I wish they'd just try to talk things out. Or what if she was doing baseball play-by-play? There sure are a lot of fans here today, but one of the team has 9 players on the field, and the other team only has 1. That doesn't seem very sporting to me. You know, this could turn into a rout unless the referee lets the other team add a few more players. Many people have asked my wife, how have you put up with being married to a humor writer for all these years? But if you ask me, they're asking the wrong question. How about asking, how have I put up with my wife for all these years? Did I mention I love her very much? Love you, sweetie. You see, Michelle will argue that she knows as much about football as I know about art, but I disagree. I'm a huge fan of art. Just watch Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson thread the seam of the opposing team's nickel defense and light them up for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. Now that, my friend, that is a work of art. Well, that's the view from the bleachers. Perhaps I'm off base. I'm Tim Jones, and remember, if you liked this video or simply feel sorry for me, please click on the subscribe button below and share this video with anyone you'd like to make laugh or annoy. For more of my humor, you can also visit my website, viewfromthebleachers.net. Thanks for joining me today, and did I mention I love my wife?